Yo, what's going on guys? It's G Miners here, and today I'm going over every weapon that I will be taking into the Witch Queen DLC. In this video, I will specifically be going over what will be good or is anticipated to be good for the day 1 raid. Some of you guys have been asking for this video, so I wanted to put it out so that you had enough time to grind for some of these weapons. If there are other videos that you'd like to see, make sure to let me know in the comments below, and I'll make them. Everything I'm going over are weapons that I think will prove useful and have been useful in previous day 1s like Deepstone and Vogue. It's also important to note that we will be definitely getting a meta shift for Witch Queen, so these choices may change. Starting off in the Kinetic slot, the Extraordinary Rendition is one of the best SMGs and has great rolls. SMGs have been at the top of the list for primary options for a while now, so this is why I'll be taking this in. Witherhoard is potentially the best ad clear weapon in the game and is great for encounters when ads are swarming you or are spawning at set points. When SMGs are out of range, the next best option tends to be hand cannons. Fatebringer is one of the best in the game, so this is an easy choice for some ad clear. When running a stasis subclass for ad clear, the Peace Bond can be great, especially with Demo or Headstone. Another option would be AS Luna, but I don't have a good role for that yet, so this is why I have the Peace Bond. The Pardon Our Dust is the only Kinetic GL with autoloading and blinding nades. I've covered this in another video, but I think I'm going to be using this quite a bit on day 1. The Escape Velocity is my favorite 900 RPM SMG. Mine has Drop Mag, which is an amazing perk with the new primary ammo changes, so this is why I have this. The Ignition Code is another great special GL in the Kinetic slot. This has way too many good rolls and can be used in double special builds or used to spam ads with blinding nades when I don't want to wait for autoloading on the Pardon Our Dust. I'm taking in the Legal Action Pulse Rifle simply because I like the roll that I have, but after using each Pulse Rifle archetype under light, each of these will be great for day 1. Pulses almost always 1 burst red bars. This is my main choice when needing to play with a bit more range. In terms of actively clearing ads, Egger Scepter is amazing, so I have this if we ever need some insane stasis ad control. In an encounter like Shirochi, this could be useful, and there would be little to no chance that you would run out of ammo. Izanagi's is still one of the best special DPS weapons, and it also hits like a truck for majors and ultras if needed. And then on top of all these weapons, I will also have Arbalest, Hung Jury, and the Praetor's Revenge ready to go in Dim. Arbalest will be great for anti-barriers and shielded enemies. Hung Jury is my favorite scout rifle, but ultimately all scouts are pretty balanced currently, so any option would be good. And then lastly, Praetor's is the best legendary DPS sniper in the Kinetic slot. Okay, so moving along, in the energy slot, I feel like the best options are mostly special weapons. I will be taking in Deafening Whisper. I made an entire video on this. I am in love with this thing. Autoloading and Lead from Gold make this great, but there are plenty of other roles that are good on this. I have a few Truth Teller rolls as well. Each has blinding nades. This will be useful if I want to run a Kinetic primary and can't use Ignition Code or Pardon Our Dust. The No Composure will remain a great weapon even after Particle is gone. Reservoir Burst makes this thing great for extremely fast ad clear. My Ikelos SMG has Demo, which makes it great for grenade builds like when using stasis turrets. I also can hot swap a global reach mod on to gen Warmind cells with this. Even with the nerfs, using these Warmind cells under light still feels good for trash ads. I have Cartesian here as a DPS weapon. I've used this without Particle, and it still feels solid against majors, ultras, and bosses, even when under light. Trinity Ghoul is one of the best ad clear weapons as long as you can constantly get kills with it to proc Lightning Rod. If you can't, it's somewhat useless, so this is a weapon I will play by ear. Empty Vessel is just a solar Truth Teller. So enough said there, just kind of another option. Adored is a great DPS option for bosses with Triple Tap and Vorpal. My team used this for Taniks on day 1 with Anarchy, and it worked extremely well, so I'll be bringing this into Witch Queen. I have Shadow Price just as a backup primary to use. This will most likely get switched around based on the range of encounters and the affinity of enemy shields in the new raid. Ariana's Vow is great for anti-barrier champions. It's always better, in my opinion, to have one person take down their shields as fast as possible for a stun rather than using primaries, even if using primaries means having a slightly more versatile special weapon than just running Ariana's. First in, last out, and Divinity are two additional weapons that my team might use. Philo is great for single target damage and is still good on its own for DPS, even with the hot swap nerf. Divinity is also great for small DPS increases. Even though it is a 30% buff, you only really get an 8% increase to your total DPS. The major thing this allows you to do is hit crits easier, making for consistent DPS phases. I did want to mention that with adds having shields, it is almost always better to have a primary energy weapon. This helps rip shields, but also allows for your special weapon to be kinetic, which will hit slightly harder. I know that I listed a bunch of energy special weapons, which goes against this, but as I mentioned, this is what currently looks like it will be good in Witch Queen. Before I go over the heavy weapons, if you found this video useful, make sure to drop a like and sub down below. Subbing is completely free, it helps me out a ton, and you can always change your mind later. So lastly, arguably the most important weapons, the heavies. Starting off, I have Xenophage. This got a nerf to fire rate, but also increased damage per shot recently. Overall, I think the total DPS decreased by like 4%, but hitting harder makes this much better for killing tanky adds like Majors. This is also extremely easy to use, works at all ranges, and can be paired with a holster mod to auto reload. I will most likely be bringing in a linear fusion rifle. This will most likely be Reed's Regret, but may be switched to a threaded needle. Even without particle deconstruction, these will still be good and will be a nice long-range option if using something like Izanagi's or another exotic. Sleeper Simulant is also still great and pairs nicely with Divinity. It recently got a 16% buff and an extra shot in the mag. On top of this, there is always a chance for ricochets to hit, depending on how bosses' hitboxes are mapped. The only issue with Sleeper is its ammo economy. Even with the Whirlwind Blade nerf, Falling Guillotine is still extremely great against bosses and tanky adds. When running double special for DPS, this could also be used to add clear extremely fast as long as you can choke up on enemy spawns. Lament is still going to be the best sword to use for boss DPS, and it comes with anti-barrier, which is a huge bonus. This is also great for sustained and burst DPS. If we get another Atrax or Shuro Chi type boss, this will most likely be the best option. I'm predicting that Galahorn is going to be nerfed, but will still be good as a support weapon for other rockets. It is also rumored that next season will be a rocket meta and could have an artifact mod buffing rocket damage. For this reason, I am bringing the Hezen Vengeance. Other rockets could prove to be better next season, but I have a god roll for Master Vogue, so autoloading might allow me to pair this with something like Izanagi's for some extra DPS. I will still be bringing in Anarchy, despite it being nerfed into the ground. It will still be good for ad clear and may potentially be useful as it is the only good damage over time DPS weapon. I might bring in Legend of Acrius. This weapon still hits like a truck and could be great for close range bosses or ultras that may not be easy to hit with a sword. Whisper of the Worm got an insane buff. Ultimately, this is going to be the go-to weapon for boss DPS if ammo economy is an issue. This got a huge DPS buff by increasing damage by 10% and decreasing the time it takes to proc Whisper Breathing, but it also has one of the highest total damage outputs in the game, which just got better by generating a third of the mag from thin air. I also have a Behringer's Memory in my inventory. This is simply for autoloading with spike nades. Other heavy GLs could be better, but I think the only reason this would really be useful is when pairing it with something like Izanagi's. The only other weapon that I think could be useful is a Tractor Cannon. If a boss moves out of a tether during DPS phase, Tractor may be the best way to keep them debuffed. Every weapon that I just listed is based on what I like to use, the current and expected meta, and what I have seen work in previous day one raids. I will most likely make an updated video a day or two before the raid goes live so that this is as up to date as possible and includes some of the new weapons. If there are any other weapons you are thinking of bringing in, feel free to ask in the comments below and I can let you know my opinion on it and whether or not I think it will be useful. Hope this video helps, guys. Peace.